This is the Serengeti, where every creature has its place, and every drama is written by the ancient rules of nature. But sometimes, life throws out a script that is completely unbelievable. Meet Keto, a lion cub. At this curious age, everything on the savannah is a potential toy, a mystery to be explored. In the scorching midday sun, while his mother, Malika, was resting lazily under the shade of an acacia tree, Keto encountered a small, dry mound of earth that looked no different from thousands of others. However, it was the nest of an African driver ant colony, a dangerous army ant colony whose bite could paralyze and even threaten the life of a young lion cub. In a moment of reckless mischief, Keto vigorously clawed at the nest. The consequences were immediate. Hundreds, then thousands of ants erupted like a black lava flow, engulfing Keto. The cub screamed, writhing in pain, his panicked cries piercing the silence of the savannah. Malika awoke, rushing over, but was utterly helpless. Her claws and teeth were no match for the small but ferocious army of ants. And that is when something inexplicable appeared. A shadow moved slowly toward the chaos. It was not a hyena or a cheetah, but a giant anteater. This creature, with its distinctive striped coat and long snout, is a resident of the South American rainforest. It has no business being on this continent. We call him Pampa. Pampa was a victim of the illegal wildlife trade, having escaped from smugglers, lost and starving. His presence was a sad reminder of human greed. But in this moment of utter desperation, Pampa, the one who did not belong, was the only hope for Keto. Follow along, because this is the story of how an outcast saved a life and how we found justice for him. If you rewind a few minutes, everything was deceptively peaceful. Keto, full of exploratory energy, made that fateful move. He didn't realize that the small mound of dirt he clawed was a tightly organized network of life, and that even the smallest intrusion would be met with fierce retaliation. African driver ants, or marching ants, not only bite, but also coordinate attacks, injecting venom capable of paralyzing and, in severe cases, killing small creatures like Keto. For Malika, Keto's mother, this was no game. It was a race for survival. She rushed in, her roar initially a threat to the invisible enemy, which then turned into a scream of panic as she recognized the nature of the danger. She tried to use her nose and tongue to lick the ants off Keto's fur, but the ants immediately crawled onto her, burning her thick skin. This was the moment a mother's survival instinct violently conflicted with love. She knew clearly, if she continued to intervene, she too would be weakened, possibly severely injured, making both mother and cub easy prey for other dangers lurking on the savannah. She was forced to retreat, and the low, choked whimper she emitted was the sound of utter helplessness and failure. It was at this moment of desperation that our story took a decisive turn. Malika had only two choices. 1. Retreat and accept the tragedy. 2. Seek a solution outside of her world, beyond all the natural rules she had ever known. And that is when Pampa, the giant anteater, appeared. Malika had seen Pampa before, an odd shape, an anomaly she had always viewed with suspicion, perhaps even as a new type of prey. But the desperate need to save her son overcame every predatory instinct. Her usual threatening roar now transformed into an urgent, softer cry, drawing Pampa's attention from a nearby termite mound toward the writhing Keto. This moment was no longer about predator and prey. This was about a common enemy, the ants. Malika placed her faith in her son's life in a creature she did not understand. It was a silent bargain, an incredible acceptance that this strange creature, the one who had just escaped from smugglers, was her only savior. The stage was set for an impossible alliance, a collaboration across species lines, proving that empathy and the need for survival can be stronger than any rule of the savannah. Pampa lumbered toward the center of the chaos. Its appearance, with its slow gait and long snout, did not exude heroism. It looked clumsy, out of place, an anomaly of nature. Yet, Pampa was perfectly engineered by creation to solve this exact problem. Anteaters like Pampa possess an incredible sense of smell, allowing them to precisely locate the densest concentrations of insects. More importantly, their immune systems are tempered to consume thousands of toxic insects, including driver ants, without issue. And Pampa's ultimate weapon is its tongue, up to 60 centimeters long, covered in a thick, glue-like saliva, which it flicks out at lightning speed. It is a specialized hunting tool, completely non-aggressive toward other large animals. Pampa began to act. First, it used its powerful claws to break open the main ant nest, which immediately drew the attention of the colony, shifting their focus away from Keto. Then, slowly, methodically, Pampa began to clean Keto. Malaika stood frozen, mesmerized, watching a spectacle of feeding that was both bizarre and life-saving. Each lick of Pampa's tongue swept dozens of biting insects from her son's fur. This was the moment of a silent pact. Malaika completely let go of her guard, a testament to the absolute trust she placed in this foreign creature. Keto, though still trembling with pain, stopped screaming, finding a strange comfort in Pampa's rhythmic, calm, sweeping motion. When the rescue was complete, Keto was safe. Pampa backed away slightly, its job done. But just then, the truth behind its presence was revealed. The rangers, who had been tracking Pampa from a distance, arrived on the scene. They were not tracking Pampa because it was a native species. They were tracking it as evidence. Pampa was not a subject of study. It was a victim of illegal international wildlife trade. Stolen from its South American homeland, it was being trafficked across continents, likely to be sold to a wealthy private collector until a transit accident freed it, leaving it lost and alone in the heart of Africa. Pampa's rescue of Keto was a heroic act, but it was also a painful reminder of human irresponsibility. Pampa, the outcast, had saved a life while desperately needing to be saved itself. This scene completely changed the Rangers' perspective. They could no longer view it as mere contraband. The danger was over, but the dilemma had just begun. With the ants retreated and Keto safe in Malaika's embrace, the Rangers moved in. Among them was Anya, who had dedicated her career to protecting this ecosystem. She watched Pampa, still bewildered, using its sticky tongue to clean up the last of the ants on the ground. In the eyes of the law, Pampa was evidence, living proof of a transnational wildlife trafficking crime. According to protocol, it should be held for investigation, perhaps housed in a local sanctuary. But how could a creature that had just performed such an extraordinary life-saving act be treated as mere cargo? Anya approached Pampa. She looked into its small, deep eyes, which reflected fear and loss. Then, she looked toward Malaika, the lioness mother, who was silently observing every human movement. Malaika's eyes no longer held hostility, but a quiet respect, as if she were silently bargaining for the one who saved her son. Anya called the center. She knew she had to do what no one had ever done. Not just report the trafficking, but petition for a special repatriation plan. We cannot just detain him. He is a hero, but a lost hero. Anya explained to her superiors. Our goal is not to punish him, but to correct the mistake of those who brought him here. The idea proposed was audacious and costly. Operation Justice for Pampa. The operation had two parts. The first was care and conservation. Pampa would be taken to a specialized quarantine facility where it would receive a South American-like diet and environment. They would have to cooperate with American biologists to pinpoint the exact region Pampa was stolen from. The second, and most important, was repatriation. Pampa could not stay. Returning it to its homeland, back to the swamps or savannas where it was born, was the only way to undo the crime committed against it. The cost of international transport was enormous, the legal procedures complex, but Pampa's story gave them a powerful tool, a symbol. Pampa was more than just evidence. It was a living reminder of the inhumanity of wildlife trade, an industry that caused absurd and dangerous situations like this. Its story would be the voice for thousands of other creatures being transported and confined. Anya decided Pampa would not be treated as evidence. It would be treated as an ambassador who would return home with honor. It was a decision that went against most ranger protocols, but it was driven by the lesson Malaika had taught. Sometimes, compassion must be stronger than the law. Months later, the mission was complete. Complex international cooperation, high costs, and relentless effort finally brought Pampa to the end of its journey. Pampa tentatively stepped out of the safe transport crate. Like a guest returning from a long trip, it inhaled the air of its homeland. No longer the dry heat of the savannah, but the moist, rich scent of the rainforest. Then, with a new confidence, it disappeared into the vegetation. Look at Pampa now. It has returned to where it belongs. No longer a solitary anomaly, but an essential part of a thriving ecosystem. It survived the unimaginable journey and proved that even the most out-of-place creature can shift the natural order for the good. And Keto, the lion cub, grew up healthy, perhaps a little wiser, less inclined to poke at strange mounds of dirt. The bond between Keto and Pampa was a fleeting moment born of crisis, but it proved a profound truth. When faced with desperation, instinct can overcome all divides. Malaika chose connection over conflict, and in doing so, she taught us that compassion is a powerful survival tool. The world is often divided by geography, by species, by culture. But Pampa's journey is a powerful reminder that all creatures are fighting for the same thing: safety, home, and the chance to thrive. We caused this problem, and we have the power to fix it. We cannot change the past, but we can ensure that Pampa is the last creature displaced by illegal wildlife trade. This is where you come in. We all want to believe in happy endings, but happy endings require action. If Pampa's story touched your heart, if you believe that every animal deserves to live in its home, here is what you can do. First, educate yourself on the signs of illegal wildlife products and refuse them. Second, support conservation funds that help execute these complex transcontinental rescue and repatriation missions. We have provided links below to the specific organizations that help Pampa return home. Every share, every donation, every voice ensures that another creature, lost and lonely, gets to enjoy freedom in its native ecosystem. Hit the like button if you believe in the power of empathy. Subscribe for more hopeful stories, and tell us in the comments, what is the most unexpected act of kindness you have ever witnessed? Together, we can rewrite the stories of the world's most vulnerable creatures.